Front-end, back-end, deployment. How do all these pieces actually fit together? In this explainer, we are building the complete roadmap for one of the most in-demand roles in tech, the full-stack developer. Our goal here is to give you a really clear, high-level picture of the entire journey, from just a single line of code all the way to a live application.
So here's the path we're going to follow. We'll start with the big picture. Then we'll build our application layer by layer. First, we'll craft the user experience, then we'll power it from behind the scenes, and finally, we'll launch it to the world. Think of each of these as a key checkpoint on your developer journey.
All right, so before we can build our map, we kind of need to understand the territory. So what exactly is a full-stack developer?
You hear this jack-of-all-trades term thrown around a lot. And for a full-stack developer, it's pretty spot on. They're the ultimate generalist. They have the skills to work on pretty much any part of the web development process. They really get the entire software lifecycle, from the code that runs in your browser, to the business logic on the server, all the way to pushing that final product into the cloud for everyone to enjoy.
Okay, now let's place our first marker on the roadmap. We're starting with the front end. This is everything the user directly sees, touches, and interacts with. It's the face of our application.
The entire web is built on 3 core technologies, and this analogy is just perfect. HTML provides the raw structure, the skeleton. Then CSS comes in and adds all the presentation, the colors, the fonts, the layout. That's the skin. And then JavaScript? Well, JavaScript brings it all to life with interactivity. It's the muscles that make things happen when a user clicks a button.
Of course, modern developers use some pretty powerful tools built on top of that core trio. We use version control to collaborate and save our work without causing total chaos. We pull in packages of code from the community so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. We use modern frameworks to style our sites really fast and powerful libraries to build these complex user interfaces out of reusable components, which is absolutely essential for managing the complexity of today's apps.
So, we've built the beautiful exterior of our house. Now it's time to install the plumbing, the electricity, the foundation. This is the back end. It's the hidden engine room that makes everything actually work. For our engine, we're using Node.js, which lets us run JavaScript right on the server. And what's really cool about this slide is the analogy it uses. See, traditional servers are like having one waiter for each table. They get stuck, waiting for one order to finish before moving on. Node.js is like having one super efficient waiter for the whole restaurant. It takes everyone's orders, never waits around, and just serves dishes as soon as they're ready. This non-blocking architecture is what makes it so incredibly fast and scalable for modern apps.
So, every application needs a memory, and for that, we use databases. And we often use 2 different types. For our most critical data, the stuff we absolutely can't lose, we'll use a relational database like Postgres, which offers just rock-solid reliability. But for things that need to be lightning fast, like caching data, we use an in-memory store like Redis. It's kind of the difference between a secure vault and having something ready for you right at the front desk.
So how do our front-end and back-end actually talk to each other without creating chaos? Well, they communicate through an API. You can think of it like a contract. The front end agrees to ask for information in a very specific way, and the back end promises to respond in a predictable format. We use REST principles as the traffic rules for this communication, and tools like JWT as a digital passport to make sure that whole conversation is secure.
Our application is built. Now for the final phase, getting it out into the world. We need to make it available, reliable, and scalable for users everywhere. This is the world of DevOps and the cloud.
The old way of managing servers, it involved manually clicking around in a cloud console like AWS. This was slow, it was fragile, and it led to this nightmare called configuration drift, where no 2 environments were ever exactly alike. The new way is infrastructure as code, or IAC. We literally define our servers, networks, and databases in code, which makes our setups repeatable, automated, and version controlled.
This slide just brilliantly illustrates the roles of our key DevOps tools. Terraform is for provisioning. It builds the empty house for us. Tools like Ansible are for configuration. They go in and furnish the house by installing all the software. And then GitHub Actions creates our CI/CD pipeline, the automated assembly line that tests and deploys our code every single time we make a change.
So, we've explored all the individual regions of our map. Now it's time to zoom out and see how they all connect into one single cohesive workflow.
So how does it all connect in one continuous loop? Okay, picture this. A developer pushes code with Git. This automatically triggers a pipeline in GitHub Actions which tests and builds the application.
That new code is then deployed to our cloud infrastructure on AWS, which is all managed by Terraform. Now a user interacts with our React front end. That front end makes a request to the Node.js backend using that API contract we talked about. Finally, the backend processes that request, retrieving or storing data in our PostgreSQL and Redis databases. It's a fully automated, harmonious system.
You now have the high-level map. Your next checkpoint is clear. If you're just getting started, follow our beginner-friendly full-stack playlist. It's built to guide you step by step. And if you're already an experienced developer, you can dive deep into our detailed playlists for front-end, back-end, and DevOps.
We've laid out the entire path, connecting every single landmark from a line of code to a globally deployed application. The path is clear. The only question left is, now that you have the map, what will you build?
This is Developer Roadmaps. Map your path, build your career.